Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to the Weekend Wellness Hour. Today, I have a guest on, Kelly Baker, who I met through a mutual friend and different group of healthcare providers. And I was very interested in her story and what she's doing in Gilbert, Arizona, and even with her coaching and consulting with clients throughout the world. So, Kelly's going to come on and talk to us today about detoxification and a little bit about what led her to this path. Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so you have a quite unique story, and I have some friends who've suffered from Lyme disease. And I would really enjoy if you could share with us your path through learning to detox your body.
Yeah, definitely. So about 13 years ago, I gave birth to my son. He was early, he had a lot of problems. In about 15 months, we found out he was actually diagnosed with autism. And that kind of started me down the path. I learned very quickly through diet how important, what we're putting into our bodies, what we're eating, how that affects everything in our bodies and our brain. And so we saw major changes with diet for him. And that kind of started me on the path. About 2 years into that, I started to get ill myself. And 4 years of hundreds of doctors and all kinds of different treatments and therapies, I finally realized it was Lyme disease I was dealing with.
Mhm.
Found out my son also had Lyme disease. I had given it to him while I was pregnant. And so we immediately started, treating with different herbs and using different treatments. And I kind of started to learn about how important drainage and detox. And colon hydrotherapy was something that was super helpful for me. It was super complementary to the treatments I was doing, because when you're killing off different bacterias and different infections, it's really important to be able to have the body be able to get those things out. And so addressing that was super helpful for me. And that kind of started me down that path of the colon hydrotherapy. And then I started doing colon hydrotherapy as a therapist for other people, and then learned about other services that were very helpful for drainage. And when I learned about that, it really kind of catapulted my healing. And so I just started sharing with other people, and my business just grew accidentally.
Yeah.
Now we see a lot of people dealing with the same things,
Mhm.
and we're able to share.
So, do you remember at all being bit and having a typical Lyme reaction, which is that bullseye rash somewhere on
I
your
I
body, or?
don't. I don't remember that. I have lived in Arizona my whole life. Not that that means anything, but it's obviously not as common to see ticks. You're not out in the forest. You're not hiking in those areas. So I don't know of any time that I was, but through my research with Lyme disease and what I've seen and talking to a lot of other people dealing with it, it's not. There's a lot of other ways that Lyme disease can be transmitted,
Mhm.
and you can get it through mosquitoes, spider bites, fleas, any anything like that. There's even a lot of people that say that it can be sexually transmitted.
Mhm.
My husband, who grew up in Pennsylvania, he got bit all the time. He specifically
Mhm.
remembers being bit and even having bullseye rashes.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that was the case for me, but yeah, it's a lot more. I feel like it's a lot more common that people even actually carry the Lyme in their body, and it's really more about your immune system and kind of how you're living your constitution of your body, and whether your immune system can suppress it or not. So it's obviously if you're out hiking and you get bit and you get a bullseye rash, it's a different situation than if you have chronic Lyme. But
Mhm.
the chronic Lyme is much more of an immune system issue, I feel like.
Right. And so when you finally realized that you and your son had it, and you said you went through a lot of different treatments, and you mentioned the colon hydrotherapy as one, the lymphatic drainage as another. What were some of the other methods that people were trying with you to detox your body?
Uh,
And
Go
did
ahead.
you feel any benefit to some of those other ones as well?
Right. I did a lot of different things. I
Mhm.
did different types of IVs, ozone IVs, vitamin IV. hydrogen peroxide IVs, lots of different like herbal protocols, um, chelation, different types of cleansing, things like that. And some things did make me feel better. But what I kind of discovered was that the more that I was trying to treat these things, the worse I was feeling. And I kind of had to discover it on my own, just by doing different things, that when I was supporting the drainage pathways of my body, so doing things like, the colon hydrotherapy, castor oil packs, coffee enemas, different types of saunas, lymphatic enhancement therapy, lymphatic drainage, things like that, that I felt better. And I felt like, it was actually moving forward, where before I started doing those things, I wasn't. And I find that that's just an area that really gets missed with a lot of practitioners, a lot of the Lyme doctors. A lot of people just don't talk about drainage and the foundational piece that is, to being able to cleanse and detox properly. If you don't have good drainage, and those pathways aren't open, when you start trying to kill things off or pull things out of tissue and that kind of stuff, you end up getting a lot sicker, because it just stirs it up, and then your body, can't get it out. So I kind of discovered that on my own. And once I did, I was able to start doing all those supportive different things to kind of, address that.
And this may not be known, but is there a reason why we have trouble with drainage now? Why all of a sudden, at this point in your life, do we
Right.
know why aren't you draining like you would maybe 20 years ago?
Exactly. And I mean, I don't know how much people were draining back
Mhm.
then either. I do
Right.
think the amount of toxins that we were being exposed to 20 years ago, obviously, is a lot less.
Yeah.
And I think, all the things in the food and the air and the water and the products that we use, all of those things, they increase the toxic load, and it's really more about the load. And for everybody, it's going to be like that straw that breaks the camel's back. So it's like, what might be too much for one person, the other person's body might be able to accommodate. But eventually that load gets too much and the body just can't compensate anymore. And that's when you get into chronic illness and disease and things like that. So I don't know that I don't really know enough about, drainage back 20
Yeah.
years ago, but I think it's just so much more important now, because we do live in such a toxic world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually saw on your Facebook page you had posted on the Restored Wellness Detox page about this little diagram of all the different chemicals and it was showing a woman,
Yeah.
from the mascara to the makeup to deodorant to all these different ways, shampoo, and all these chemicals that we put on top of our body that gets absorbed into our body. And most of those described hormonal disruption.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, when you decided to go down this path, what were all the kind of ways that you eliminated toxins and chemicals from your body? Was
Right.
it a step-by-step process, or did you just go cold turkey? I am removing everything.
So it was kind of a little bit of both. I
Okay.
definitely, when my son got diagnosed, there was some immediate changes. I quit using air
Mhm.
fresheners and candles in my house and Glade
Mhm.
plugins, and started trying to address things, getting rid of plastic containers, things like that. So there was some of that initially, but I mean, it's also kind of a learning, there's a learning curve there, because it's like you kind of think you're doing okay. And then all of a sudden you're reading something, you're learning something, and you're like, oh, I didn't know this. And then you make
Mhm.
those types of changes. So, I mean, I'm still learning even daily things about how I can, live cleaner. But so it was a little bit of both, but
Mhm.
I usually suggest to people to take it kind of one step at a time, one thing at a time, baby step, because I find that it can be very overwhelming for
Yeah.
people to have to just chuck everything that they've been using and everything they've been doing. So I feel like that's a much easier way to do it. It's just kind of
Mhm.
like, as you're running out of things, start learning what things can be replaced, that are going to be, a better, more non-toxic fit for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so all of these contribute to detoxification. Can you go into what exactly detoxification is and kind of how you approach it?
So, detox is going to be, the way that your body obviously, even on a cellular level is going to detox the things that your body is holding on to. We
Mhm.
don't necessarily get a ton into detox. I mean, the services that we provide and the things that I'll suggest to clients that I work with
Mhm.
will be detoxing, but we really focus
Mhm.
more on drainage,
Okay.
because if you focus on opening all those different drainage pathways, the body can naturally, get back into like that homeostasis place where the body's then able to just detox kind of on its own. I mean, because that's the idea. The body's a very amazing and healing, powerful thing if it's,
Yeah.
taken care of, if you give it the
Yeah.
right fuel. So we focus more on that and find that then, the body seems to do the job on its own. And of course, when people are dealing with chronic illness, pathogens and infections, we address those kind of on a client by client basis. We do a lot of parasite cleansing. We do a lot
Mhm.
of different Lyme protocols, things like that.
Mhm. And with the drainage, and you mentioned colon hydrotherapy and cleanses, can you go into those a little bit more and what's the difference? You mentioned the coffee cleanses. I'm just curious about all of those.
Yeah. So the colon hydrotherapy is super important because
Mhm.
if you are doing any kind of cleansing, obviously that's the major way that your body eliminates waste. So if you're not going to the bathroom, you're getting that major backup of toxicity in the body, which then affects everything. And it's going to be very hard
Mhm.
on the liver, and the liver is going to have to work that much harder. So addressing that is going to make everything work more efficiently, and going to make sure that you're eliminating the things, that colon pathway is super important. And
Mhm.
then as for, I'm sorry, what was the other part of that you wanted to
Oh,
know?
the cleanses. So
The
you have colonics where people come in and have the machine, and then people also can do cleanses at home, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot you can do at home. The coffee enemas are an amazing tool that I feel like everybody could benefit from, because
Mhm.
what we see a lot of is a ton of liver congestion.
Okay.
The liver has over 600 jobs, and so it's working really hard to try to deal with all the things that we're being exposed to. So the coffee enemas are super important,
Okay.
and very helpful. I think it can be very daunting to people when they think about that, but it's actually super easy to do at home.
Mhm.
And when you do that, you always make sure that you have your bowels emptied out prior, so that when you do that coffee, it gets right up into the portal vein, which is where the liver dumps toxins. It helps open
Mhm.
that up and helps eliminate much better. So that's something that's very easy to do at home. Epsom salt baths are very detoxing and helpful. Any kind of like dry brushing, saunas, castor oil packs, those are all great things you can do at home.
That's great. So with like the coffee enemas, is that something people get instructed on doing, or they watch a YouTube video, or is that something that you help people learn how to do that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anybody could go onto YouTube. There's plenty
Mhm.
of great, little tutorials out there to
Mhm.
do that. But yes, I work with my clients. I have like a very detailed, sheet that I give them, and I instruct them where to get the supplies that they need. Some of them I supply for them. But yeah, I walk them, through it. It's much less stressful, I think, than people. When I finally get clients on board to do it, they're like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I wish I would have been doing this for so
Yeah.
long, because it just makes people feel so much better.
Oh, that's great. And why would they do that versus come in for colon hydrotherapy treatments?
Well, I would really suggest people do both,
Oh, okay.
because they're really going to be doing two separate things.
Okay.
The colon hydrotherapy is going to, get all the way up, clean everything out. And the idea really behind colon hydrotherapy is that you want to do a handful of sessions somewhat close together. You want to get into
Mhm.
all those pockets and clean out all that toxic buildup. And
Mhm.
then you want to maintain that by doing colonics periodically, so that that buildup doesn't occur. The coffee enemas have a completely different purpose, which is going to be to help the liver and help the liver, that liver bile duct drainage be open,
Mhm.
so that the liver is less congested by being able to process things better.
Got it. And so for those who don't have caffeine on a regular basis, Is there another option besides coffee to do those cleanses at home?
There's definitely many other types of enemas that you can do,
Mhm.
but the coffee enemas are going to be much more focused on the liver,
Okay.
and you can use decaffeinated coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, and I find that people that don't tolerate caffeine very well, or
Mhm.
don't do coffee, drinking it, do just fine with a coffee enema.
Okay. That's great to find out. And now, so you help people that way. And I know that nutrition is also very important to you. You have your certification, you're a nutritionist. So, what are some things that people can look at in terms of food intake to limit the toxins, to help promote drainage, anything like that?
I would say, obviously knowing the source of where your food is coming from, focusing on eating whole food nutrition, organic when possible, especially for like that dirty dozen. There's that dirty dozen that comes out every year that the
Mm.
environmental working group puts out. Only that is attainable to people, that's going to, help, because those are going to be the things that are going to be the most, loaded with pesticides. So just trying to be, knowledgeable about where your food is coming from, and eating clean, and, organic meats, all of those things are going to be very helpful, because that's going to definitely decrease the toxic load in the body, especially when you're talking about the pesticides. We see a lot of people that have, a lot of issues because of all the pesticides in their food. So that's where I would focus on.
Yeah, and a lot of people will think, okay, organic is just this fake thing. They're just trying to charge you more money. And I hear also the complaint that it doesn't taste any differently. And my rebuttal is I'd really prefer not to have something that's designed to kill something also in my body. And I think that when their taste buds shift and they're off of those chemically laden foods, they can start tasting differently as well. Do you have any comments on that?
Oh, 100%. I completely agree with you. And, there are a lot of people out there that argue that even organic, does have stuff. Obviously, it rains, the ozone, but it's going to be much, much less than what you're getting conventionally. And so, um, eh, I don't know that I really noticed a taste issue. I do hear that sometimes from people, but I definitely feel like the body can really show you how it's affecting you more so than the taste. And I definitely feel like I can taste it in the meats. You're
Mhm.
not getting, when you're buying chicken, you're not getting these ginormous, chickens that are loaded with the antibiotics and the hormones. Organic chicken's going to be much smaller, which, I know cost wise is not
Yeah.
ideal for everybody. But, if more people start voting with their dollars, and more people start questioning and being aware of what's in our food, and, kind of and saying, I'm not gonna pay for this food, I'm gonna pay for this
Mhm.
other food, eventually those things will change, and organic food
Yeah.
won't cost so much more, and it will just be the way that, food is farmed,
Yeah.
and it'll be, the idea.
Yeah, and I think that's important because as people are becoming more toxic, cancers abound everywhere. We have to make some changes, and learning how to take care of your health and your body. And if you think about what can you ultimately do to put in or on your body that's a healthier version that you can afford, why not go for it? Yeah.
Definitely, and your skin is like the largest organ of your body, and so, especially the things that you're putting on, that thing that I had posted that you referenced before, um, you know, everything that we use on our skin, and all of these young girls with all the different makeups and lotions, and um, it's it's really having an impact on, especially hormonal health, for women. It's really important to know and make. I mean, all changes, they're helpful, and it's
Mhm.
it's all about balance. And then obviously supporting your body and giving your body that extra drainage and detox support, so that the things that you are exposed to that you can't avoid, your body's able to then, process that much better is important.
Yeah. Now, when you started making all these changes, can you describe some of the physical improvements that you felt? And if you don't mind sharing anything that your son felt as well, that would be helpful to see, okay, when you did this, you might have felt better here.
Yeah, definitely. I think, immediately,
Mhm.
both of us noticed just with the dietary stuff right away, making the changes to more organic. We had gut improvement, things there, skin improvement,
Mhm.
less brain fog, those types of things. When I started making more of the changes in my home, I started noticing sleep was better, and skin rashes, things like that, things that you don't even realize are like affiliated, that pop up, and you go to the doctor and they're like, oh, it's just this, let me give you this medication to deal with it. But what is the root cause of that? You start kind of realizing when you clean up, your home and your body, and the things you're using, how what it impacts. I mean, I noticed that my hair was shinier and softer, and my skin was, everything. All of the things on my body, I feel like got better.
Yeah, that's incredible. And how are you doing now with managing Lyme disease? Are you feeling any effects from the Lyme disease now, or are you able to go about your day without that hovering?
Yeah, no, I've been completely healed of that for
Nice.
about 5 years now.
Wow.
I did get some type of flare up when I had COVID,
Okay.
but that was easily managed, and
Mhm.
I'm back to feeling great and doing well, and my son is doing great, and
Nice.
so yeah, I mean, we live a very clean life, and we
Mhm.
do a lot of supportive things. And I think that that's really the idea, is just try to support the body, and maintain that homeostasis, so that the body can then deal with everything a little bit better.
That's incredible. And did you have to go through infusions as a form of treatment for the Lyme, or did you just completely work on the drainage and the herbs and nutrition?
I did do some. A lot of that
Mhm.
was done in the beginning,
Okay.
and occasionally I would do it. I learned about the ozone sauna
Yeah.
fairly early on, and was able to utilize that instead of the IVs. And I find that it works, especially the type that we have here. I
Mhm.
find that it works just as well as the IVs, and it's a lot less invasive. So that I think I utilized that much more than I did those things. I might have done some vitamin IVs here or there, but
Mhm.
yeah, mostly just a lot of drainage support, and then herbal protocols.
Okay. And can you describe the sauna a little bit more? Like the
Yeah.
purpose,
So
what people experience?
the sauna that we have specifically is the
Mhm.
Hocket, and it's an ozone sauna, but it
Okay.
does about 8 other things at the same time in one 30-minute session. So you're sitting in a pod and your head is out, and the first 8 minutes of the session, you're getting carbonic acid, which helps
Okay.
dilate all the veins and capillaries. So it's going to help drive that ozone into the cells and
Okay.
into the blood. So you're getting that. You're getting PEMF, which is great for pain. It's great to help detox the body from radiation, which we're all exposed to. And then you're getting electrotherapy, and you can customize that to treat anything. There's like 100 different things you can choose, a Lyme disease one, or a lymphatic drainage, or anything. It gives you a lot of choices. And then there's photon lighting in it, and then it's a steam sauna, so that steam is opening up the pores, as well, helping that ozone get in.
That's incredible. And so your head is above it. And so this is all happening from your neck on down to your body.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
And how,
Yes. Which a lot of people prefer because a lot of people they're claustrophobic.
yeah,
They don't want to go in an infrared sauna where their head is inside there.
yeah,
So you know it's a nicer because you can tolerate the heat a little bit more because you've got a fan blowing on you. And so yeah, so I've found that that is a really important tool for fighting any kind of chronic illness. Lyme disease,
that's
definitely
interesting.
though.
And how often do people go in for a treatment like this, and how long do they last?
Typically, people do it like once a week
Okay.
initially, and then they may drop down to like once every couple weeks, and then like once a month. The sessions last 30 minutes. So yeah, there's a specific protocol, a 10 session protocol, and we usually recommend all people go through that. And then once you do that, then you can, you know, kind of do it more as a maintenance. Some people just when they need to do it, when they feel like, you know, they're run
Mhm.
down a little bit or you know, everybody's a little bit different.
It's
So
incredible. It sounds like a very comprehensive place and where you can get a lot treated at once. So, what are some of the conditions that will or issues that leads people to seek you out and work with you?
I think definitely
Mm.
Lyme for sure. A lot of gut
Okay.
issues. I get a lot of people with different kinds of gut stuff going on. Maybe they went on vacation and they came back not
Mhm.
feeling good. So we do parasites. Or just even overall like leaky gut, food sensitivities, other kinds of autoimmune things, a lot of hormonal stuff we see. So, I mean, we really see all kinds of people. Some people just, you know, they're well and they want to,
Yeah.
you know, maintain that, which is great. It's like I wish more people understood that don't wait until you're in a
Mhm.
health crisis. Support your body now and prevent that from happening. It's a lot harder to backtrack once you're already in that, you know,
Yeah,
health
it's incredible.
crisis.
So, how do people work with you? Is it obviously for some of the physical services, they would come into you're in Gilbert, Arizona, correct? Okay. So, how would
Correct.
that work? And
Yes.
then you also consult online?
Correct. Yeah. No, there's lots
Mhm.
of ways. Sometimes I talk to people by phone. Sometimes it's like a FaceTime or a Zoom. Sometimes it's just communicating through email. And then, of course, a lot in the office. I deal with a lot of people in the office, and I have a really amazing supportive team here, and everybody's super knowledgeable. And so, usually, I would suggest if you are in Arizona or you are in
Mhm.
Gilbert, especially then come in, you're going to get much more by
Mhm.
being here and being around everybody. But certainly I, you know, see a lot of people by phone and online
That's
as well.
wonderful. And what is your website so that people can reach out and find you?
Yeah, the website is
Okay.
eastvalley.detox.com. And then also any kind of social media is great. I talk with people a lot through Instagram and
Okay.
Facebook. Um, and then, you know, obviously just reaching out and giving us a call is
Yeah.
totally good too.
So, one last thing, is there any specific tip you would suggest to people just to get them kind of started on becoming more aware?
Um, I would say that's a hard one.
Yeah.
I think just, you know, the food thing I feel like is probably super important. Just starting to kind of educate yourself on where your food's coming from is a really easy thing to do that's going to give you a really great result.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, food is super important.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I really appreciate you taking some time off of your Saturday to come and share with us everything that you're doing in your story. So, thank you very, very much.
Oh, thank you, Amy. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. And thank you all for joining us today. Please check out Kelly, check out her, what she's doing in Gilbert, Arizona, and even just reach out to her if you need a consultation to know what to do for your health and what's the next step that's correct for you. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you next week. Bye now.